Jarrett, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Just enjoying the off season, trying to live in the gym and just trying to get better for next year. So it's been a busy last couple months, and next couple months will still be pretty busy.
I imagine. So you're a major league baseball pitcher.
Yes.
How do you get there? How does that happen? I mean, I'm a shooter, but this I think this all ties in. It's you just got to work to try
Uh,
to be the best.
yeah. No, I'd like to say it's an easy route, but it's never easy. And my route was probably the most unconventional out of anyone in the big leagues. I started. I went to three different colleges. I got drafted my sophomore year of college, didn't get a contract offer, so I went back to school. Junior year didn't play that well. Senior year went to a different school, played well enough, I would say, to get drafted. Didn't get drafted, so then I ended up doing an indie ball route, independent baseball, and I went there. I played on my first year was in 2017 for that, and I was with four different teams over the span of the summer. Started in Michigan with a team in the United Shores Professional Baseball League, which was considered a developmental league. And then I got released from there after about a month. I went to a team in the Pecos League, which is one of the lower levels of independent ball. And I was with the Monterey Amberjacks, which is a team close to where I'm from in Aptos, California. And so then I did well there. I got moved up to their travel team in 20, or I'm sorry, in 2017. I moved to their travel team. It was the Salina Stockade, and I was there for 5 weeks. Ended up getting released at 3 a.m. after a 15-hour bus ride from Kansas City to Dallas. Got a flight out the next morning that same morning at 9. And then I ended up getting signed to another team in San Rafael Pacifics, which is the Pacific Association. And I was there for the rest of the year and all of 2018. Did really well there. I changed my mindset a little bit. And then 2019, I went to the Lake Erie Crushers in the Frontier League, another independent league. And then in that winter, I went to New Zealand to play in the Australian Baseball League to hopefully get signed. And I ended up getting signed by the Oakland A's there. So out of that, went to 2020 spring training. COVID year happened, so got sent home after a week. That kind of sucked, but all in all, I was able to train in the gym and kind of get stronger and a little more fine tuned. 2021 had a good year in Double A Midland, the Texas League, and then in 2022 I started in Triple A Las Vegas for the A's, and then about I think it was June 8th or June 9th is when I made my debut for the Oakland A's this year.
Nice. So that's a that's a pretty tough road, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of stubbornness and perseverance. I would say mentally, I knew I was good enough. Physically, I was definitely good enough, but definitely the last few years going to the gym and with specific training from my trainer here and local, and a lot of that has really helped me kind of mentally be stronger and physically uh, be ready for the season and kind of continue to push on and hopefully continue to get better.
You mentioned that you changed your mindset, which is precisely what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
What's it like? Is mental management something that's often discussed in the major leagues, or how does that work?
Uh, I I think it's discussed, but I don't think it's uh, become as constant of a thing. There's some help. Like if you need to talk to some people, there are some mental coaches there, and it seems like it's more so just tuned to kind of cover the basics. And there are some companies or people that do some mental skill building and stuff like that. I've seen for like college teams and group sessions, stuff like that, which I think is great. But yeah, I think being mentally there is I think it's 90% of the game. I think Yogi Berra is what said that 90%. The game's 90% mental and 100% physical. and so, or 10% physical. Maybe I'm messing that up.
Yeah, yeah. It's all
I,
right. It's all right. You're a baseball player, not a mathematician. It's all right. We got
yeah,
it.
exactly. It's something like that, and I can't remember if it was because I remember the math not making sense with that statement from what I've heard. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, I mean, in 2018, I kind of said this could be my last year. I don't know what's going to happen because I'm not making money. I'd like to start making money so I can live a little bit, do some things I love, like shooting and stuff like that. And then I kind of said, all right, fuck it. I'm gonna enjoy my time and have a lot of fun. And then from there, my my ability to pitch was a lot freer. My body, my mind, everything was freer because I was happy. And I'm like, instead of putting so much stress on myself, I was like, all right, let's do this. And let's go out, have a good day, have fun. And that kind of skyrocketed me.
Have you heard of Lanny Basham? He has a book
I
called
don't,
With Winning in Mind.
I don't think
And
I've heard of it.
he is an Olympic gold medalist.
Okay.
And the only thing he figured out that the only thing that kept him from winning the Olympics was his mentality. So he
Yeah.
went on this very long journey, making himself mentally stronger and figuring out what it was that made the winners winners.
Uh-huh.
And he figured it out, put it all together, and then he went and won the Olympics because he got silver the first time
Yeah.
and came back and won. And he won national championships, world championships,
Yeah.
Olympics, and now he has a book. I mean, he won the Olympics back in the '70s, but now he has a
Uh-huh.
book, and it's pretty common amongst shooters. It's called With Winning in Mind, but
I'll have to get that.
it applies to every just anything mental that like
Yeah,
baseball or any sport.
for sure.
So, so you decided, okay, I'm gonna just hammer down and have fun, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in that book, With Winning in Mind, he talks about trying too hard, how that can be bad, and it sounds like
Mhm.
that's what you were doing.
Yeah, I think with baseball players, especially, you get the superstitious kind of things and the rituals and the routines that kind of dictate people's days. And I made it a point from then on to where I'm not going to have a specific routine. I'm not going to eat the same thing before I pitch. I'm gonna go do what I want, have fun. I'm gonna eat something small, something light, but nothing. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is what made me good that day.
Hmm.
And I kind of continued to build off of that. I tried to, and now I keep a couple things the same just because that's normal stretch routine, time based, kind of time management in a sense to get ready for a game. But other than that, I've really limited on what I do and what I uh, create for routine base, I should say, when it comes to, like, say, my start day or a day I'm pitching, to where I can't use that as an excuse and saying like that's why I was good. And so the last 5-6 years, I kind of made that a point, and I think that's been one of my successes.
Good. So, what's it like preparing for a game? I assume they let you know ahead of time that you're going to pitch. Is that how that works?
Yeah, typically if you're a starter, you're on a 5-day rotation or 5-man rotation. So there you'll pitch every fifth game. If you're starting, if you're out of the bullpen, if you throw a couple of days in a row, you'll have a day off, and then, or maybe 2 days off, and then you'll be back out of the bullpen, ready to come out of the bullpen again. When I was starting, yeah, every fifth day, you can look at the schedule, know who you're going to face. You can start doing some research on the teams, looking how they hit, how they attack certain pitches, how they what their hot spots, their cold spots. Kind of just research the teams if as much as you want or as little as you want. Uh, it's kind of each person's way how they go about it. I'm not a big video guy. I like to watch the hitters and see a little more and kind of learn how they go about things, with from a visual aspect versus just straight on a video. Like in person, for me, it's a little easier to pick up little things to try and deceive them and get the ball past them, get them to swing and miss and stuff like that.
So, I mean, baseball is about pitcher versus batter, right? Pretty much.
Yes. Yeah. It's a cat and mouse game.
How you talked about where they're hot and they're cold zones or they're hot zones, I think is what you said.
Hmm.
You mean like where you can put the ball that they're not likely to hit it, but yet can still swing at it? Is that what you meant?
Yes. Yeah. Within the strike zone, typically, or even expanding on the strike zone, think of the box. There's nine small boxes inside the big rectangle.
Mm-hmm.
And some hitters have really hot zones, say low and in if they're right-handed, and others will be up and in, or middle of the plate is typically a spot you avoid. And sometimes you can expand off of that. And so if they're a hot zone here, yeah, you might be able to throw one pitch there, but you may have just beat him and got lucky, and then you need to make sure you go away to get them to swing. So you're still in the zone and hoping they're not going to swing, or they're guessing and that's not the pitch they want. And it's a lot of back and forth. It's a true cat and mouse game when you're pitching.
So I guess when again, if it's pitcher versus batter, when they score a hit on you, or when they get a hit on you, or even a home run, how do you recuperate from that mentally?
When I was younger, and I think you can still see it with some younger kids these days, you'll see they give up one hard hit and then they're kind of pitching timid. They try and avoid getting hit again. So then they start to get a little wild. They'll miss out of the zone, trying to really get swing and miss, or trying to do too much instead of just letting them kind of hit the ball because they gave up a home run. Like I've given up a lot of home runs in my life. To me, solo home runs don't bother me whatsoever. I really try and attack the hitters and get outs get outs early in the count as much as possible. I mean, my goal is 13 pitches or less in an inning. If I can do it in 7, that's great. If I can do it in 3, that's even better. So with that, it's kind of just trusting yourself and understanding that baseball's a failing game. Yeah, he may have hit that one, but his average might be 260. So like that's his one law of averages says the next 3 at bats, he's probably going to miss the ball or not hit it well, and you should be able to get him out. And so you kind of just, the way I look at it in that sense is, okay, yeah, he hit that one. Okay, let's avoid that spot again, but let's continue to attack him and make sure the next at bat he's grounding out or popping out or even a strikeout.
So yeah, a 260 means pretty much he's hitting 1 out of 4, right?
Yes.
And
yeah,
it was just that one, got lucky.
Exactly, he got you. And some hitters are going to hit you better, and others are not. So it's kind of just understanding who does what against you. And when you're young and figuring out hitters, it's a lot tougher.
So let's say you talk about how solo home runs don't bother you, but what happens when they start scoring hits on you?
Multiple runs, multiple hits.
What do you do? How do you change? How do you pivot from that? Or do you?
Like, say you're giving up a couple bloop singles, like not well hit baseballs, they just land to get base hits or even a double out of it. And then you continue to give up a couple more hits, and you're like, okay, how do I stop this? And sometimes there's a coach that comes out, and the pitching coach will come out and talk to you and try and calm you down, or the catcher will say, hey, you're making good pitches, let's keep going at them. A lot of that is it's the intention of just getting right back at them and avoiding kind of that avalanche or landslide that'll come with that. For myself, the biggest thing is knowing that, okay, I'm still 1 pitch away. If I say there's guys on first and second, I just need to get 1 ground ball and I got 2 outs, and then the inning's right there, so much closer to being done, or it is done if you already have an out. And with that, I'm like, okay, I can do this. And that's like, you kind of flip your mentality real quick and just go, no, get back in it, get right after them, keep going. You're gonna give up hits. It's baseball. And defense is going to make errors. There's going to be base runners. So it's a matter of really just going right back at the hitter, the next hitter, and next man up, and trying to get them and continue to pound the zone.
The what about when you start getting loose, like you trying to put it in the corner, but you just keep,
Hmm.
it's I look at that and it's very similar to shooting because you're so close, but yet you're still outside.
Yeah. So when you're just missing off the plate,
Yeah, what happens then? Is that just because you're like what makes this pitcher do that?
uh, uh, sometimes it could be mechanics. Uh, so with that, sometimes you could be something could be just a little out of rhythm, and you're just missing a spot, or you could be really missing a spot if you really don't know what's going on, and you could be missing with the flyer and just go arm side high, or just completely pull a ball into the dirt. And that's when you can sometimes look at the mound and or look at pitchers, and you'll see them like kind of looking inward and trying to figure out what's going on, because you have to make an adjustment rapidly, especially in the big leagues. You got to make it next couple pitches at the very most. And so with that, I think it's when you're just missing off the plate, I think it's just a matter of changing your focal point. I don't know if it's necessarily mental, unless you're afraid to give up a hit. And sometimes it could be you got guys on second and third, you got two outs, and you got a really good hitter out up there, and you're trying to pitch around them. So you could be trying to work the outside of the box, just really trying to not throw a strike close, but maybe get them to swing and ground out to where it's not to where you're not missing over the middle of the plate and trying to avoid the major damage.
How if you were trying to put them all in the exact same spot, just
Yeah,
eliminate the batter, and you
yeah,
just had this target. How this is the shooter in me. How big of a
yeah.
group could you put in there? Like let's say five balls or five pitches.
So
How big could your group be? And does that vary from pitcher to pitcher?
it definitely varies from pitcher to pitcher. I would say for myself, I'm pretty good at putting the ball where I want it. I'm a very accurate pitcher and can hit my spots. I would say, I think that baseball's two. I don't know why I don't know the dimensions of a baseball right now. I think it's 2.5 inches. I'm blanking on numbers today. I think, let's see. So I would say I could probably go around 6 inches. I think I could throw 5 baseballs in a
Wow.
span, in a circumference of about 5 inches, and I think I could hit in that vicinity for five, as long as everything's working and my body's together.
How big is the strike zone typically?
So the strike zone varies based on hitters,
Right.
height wise, and
I
um,
would say on average.
so the plate is seven. I'm blanking on numbers again. I think the plate's 17 inches. I, these are things I should know off the top of my head, and I am losing my mind. So the plate is about 17 inches wide. So that's the width, and then usually there's another. Depending on the umpire, you might get an inch or two, probably another inch and a half, I would say, on each side of the plate.
So about 20.
About, yeah, so roughly 20 inches. Um, and then for the height can vary, probably if it's, say, like Jose Altuve, who's I think he's 5'7", so he'd have a smaller zone.
Mhm.
I don't know what the box would be for it, but let's say
Altu is probably like 20 by 3. No, but I mean, I'm guessing. See, my guesstimation was about. I was thinking 18 to 24. That's what I was thinking.
yeah,
Just
and I would have said like 20 to 30, somewhere in there.
okay. So if you can put him inside of 6 inches, that's pretty accurate in a
Yeah.
sense of you have a lot of real estate to
Yes.
shoot strikes and move it around
Yeah.
because um yeah, it's a very interesting game. Once you understand that it's pitcher versus batter and everything else is just there to support
Hmm.
them, it
Yeah.
changes how you watch baseball.
Exactly. Yeah. It makes you think a little more, and you're trying to understand why the pitcher's throwing this ball here when you know he can't hit in a certain area, but then that could be the pitcher pitching to his strength instead of pitching to the hitter's weakness. And I think some pitchers get away from pitching from their strengths and continue to try and pitch the hitter's weakness instead of going what works best for them, especially knowing that it's a failing game. So they're going to get out at 2.5 to three times, or they're going to get out 7.5 times roughly out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Um, there are some batters obviously that are better than others, just like
Yeah.
anything else. When you have
Yeah.
to face one of those, and perhaps, let's say there's one or two on the base,
Mm-hmm.
does that change how you interact when there's, I don't know, let's say two on base versus when there's nobody on base? Do you approach that differently?
Very much so. Yeah, I would say if you're facing like a Mike Trout or Aaron Judge, and you've got two guys on and they're in scoring position, or even first and second, like, yeah, you're still trying to get a ground ball or an out, but you're also trying to avoid giving up the big 3-run home run or extra base hit to where you're giving up those 2 runs and losing out in that battle in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, yeah, I think mentally you're trying to avoid it, but at the same time you're still trying to attack. And it's finding that right balance when you have those kind of situations. Like, you need to still compete, and you can't just throw the bat away and throw a ball right down the middle. Like, you need to hit your spot. You need to go right after them, because everyone can get out. It's just sometimes those guys could be on a hot streak, and you're just like, okay, I don't know what to do here.
Because just like you guys study batters, I imagine the batters also study the pitchers.
Oh, yes, and they have video in the dugout. They can look at everything, trying to find tips, anything a pitcher's doing to where they can pick up and know what pitch is coming.
There was a game. I don't follow sports very much, but I heard
Yeah.
a few, I don't know, a few months ago that they had picked up on somebody, a pitcher, that he would do something.
It was, I think it was Lance McCullers or Joe Musgrove, one of the two. It was
So they picked up on something he would do every time he throw a certain pitch.
yeah, it was with his hands. If he brought his hands above his head, it was a fastball.
Uh-huh.
And if he didn't bring his hands up, it was an off-speed pitch or something
Wow.
like that, maybe vice versa. And yeah, they teed off on him. That was crazy to see.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's a game about skill, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody's so skilled that at some point you have to figure out a way to be above that, and
Exactly.
sometimes it's just picking up on minor things like
Yeah,
that.
being detail oriented and stuff like that, and that's something I'd like to think I'm decent at and continuing to get better at is reading swings and how they're reacting to pitches. And now it's just more going back. Now that I'm at that highest level, I need to trust that more and trust my instincts of reading those guys when it comes to that.
So you know when you're going to pitch. How do you prepare differently? I assume you prepare differently because you're going to pitch.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
physically and mentally, what's the preparation like?
Physically, it's getting my work in for those 4 days leading up to the game, getting my workouts in, my bullpen if needed, working on those pitches and getting that feel proper off of the mound. On top of that, it's eating right. It's getting enough sleep, and I think me especially sleep, it helps me physically and mentally. I feel much better and I'm able to focus more. And I think for the most part, for everyone, sleep is the most important factor. Um, and so with that mentally, I'm looking at the lineup. I'm looking at the hitters, understanding where I can go and what their first pitch swing rates are. Typically, that's what I rely on the most, is when they're going to swing first pitch and when they're not. And if they're high percentage, I'm like, okay, I can throw a ball uh, just off the plate, and odds are he'll swing, and then I can get an out or just a swing and miss, get ahead in the count. So with that, I'm looking at that kind of stuff to mentally be ready and understand no hitters. and kind of everything else is pretty pretty simplified. I don't do too much to go to go pitch. I try and keep everything pretty loose and simple. That way I can be free myself.
I see. Now, how do you manage to sleep? Like I, that's one thing I have a hard time doing, especially when we travel. You know, like
Yeah,
Phoenix. Like when I go to Phoenix, it's uh, it's 2 hours difference. So
yeah.
I'm up. You know, I usually get up around 5 a.m. So in Phoenix, I'm up at 3 a.m.
Oh
And
man,
that,
I,
yeah, and
I
it's bad. Like I don't know how is there. Give me some tricks. How do you guys handle
well,
sleeping?
the biggest thing for me is I I'm up late anyways. So after a game, say the game gets done 10:30, and say I'm back at the hotel or back at my house or apartment by 12, because I'm pretty slow to leave the field. I'm usually one of the last ones there.
Hmm.
I kind of just like taking my time. I'm not, and I try not to be in a hurry, and I feel like that helps me as well.
Hmm.
Um, so with that, then I kind of decompress. Just I either watch, like, look at my phone for an hour or two, just without, like, with a TV on or background noise, not really focus on anything, and that's kind of like my decompression time. And then I kind of just feel my body out and see if I feel tired. If I am tired, I'll know it. So then I'll go lay down and kind of just shut my phone off and let myself kind of fall asleep and go from there. Uh, I can pretty much sleep anywhere, and I think that helps me a lot. I'm able to sleep on the plane, but the time difference is a killer, especially when we go west coast to east coast and we lose those 3 hours. Then you're up. You got a day game the next day, and that's what those are the tough ones. Saying we got a 1 o'clock game and we got to be at the field at 9. So in reality, you're not sleeping much, maybe 6 7 hours, and you kind of just power through.
Yeah, yeah. That's a hard one for me. I feel like I can never get any sleep. Hell, if I got 6 7 hours, I'd be jumping up
I
and down.
I mean, you're up at 5 a.m. I can't do that. Like, I mean, getting up an extra hour early for my workouts sometimes are just the death of me. But then again, I'm up late, so I mean, usually for me, 7 to 9 hours is really good. But if I'm getting 7 on average, then it's usually pretty solid.
What does a workout look like? Are you guys do you guys have different workouts depending on what you do?
Yeah, yeah. Typically, we'll have different workouts, but say I just pitched, say 6 innings and threw like 100 plus pitches. I'll have a workout the next day. It'll be a lower body based workout, kind of, and depending on how the body feels, will dictate some of the weight. It could be deadlifts. It could be some lunges with, like, front squat lunges or safety squat bar lunges, or split stance or just split squats. There'll be some core stuff in there, um, and then there will be some arm care stuff tied into that as well. And then the next day will be, odds are, it'll be a bullpen day, so you'll pitch, and then you'll throw like 25 pitches off the mound to kind of just have some feel for it, and then you'll do like more of an upper body based workout. So it'll be some arm stuff, push ups, and kind of things just to, like, tighten the body kind of back up.
So, as a professional baseball player, it seems like you guys, like the pros, are always working out. They're always preparing.
Yeah.
What if you didn't do that? I I
Uh,
wonder how much your performance would decrease
yeah.
if you didn't do that.
I'm sure there are some guys that don't do as much. And again, I think it varies person by person. But the toughest thing is playing 162 game season is a lot, and it takes a toll on the body.
Mhm.
You're traveling with, especially with the travel. So with that, you're always having to do some sort of maintenance on the body. The the uh, the trainer's room getting some treatment on your arm. You're getting treatment on your body, adjustments, whatever you need. to kind of stay ready. At the same time, it's sometimes you need to take that mental break to where you can just relax at the field and not do anything. And so like those, after the two lifts, then you might have a light small lift the day before you pitch. So you'll have, say, the third day after you pitched will just kind of be a nothing day, kind of just play catch and kind of relax from there, and that's about it. So I think it's just a matter of picking and choosing when you do take that relaxation time. But if we didn't, I think if most guys didn't work out as much or took a lot of time off, I would think injuries would go up, and I think performance would go down.
I'm just trying to see how, like for example in shooting, what would it be like somebody that shot every day versus somebody who would shoot, I don't know, once or twice a month?
Yeah, I mean, you have some of those guys that can shoot and pick up a gun and be locked in no matter what, but then you have those guys that aren't as gifted and need to really train that stuff and lock in. I know when I don't shoot as much, I lose some of my steadiness, say, for standing up and just being free-handed. Like, I can tell when some of my shots I can't keep them often. I push them with my left side, and so I know like trigger time for me is important, but I don't get a lot of it. I mean, I'm training for my sport and not my hobby, so I have to give that the preference time.
Priorities, man. Shooting, then baseball.
Yes,
simple. That's simple.
I wish I could shoot more, and I live in a spot where I can't just go shooting. Like, I got to drive 45-50 minutes to go to a range, and it sucks. And I just got a new FN57, and I haven't had a chance to shoot it.
Yeah. So, for example, you guys have, you said 162 games.
Yeah,
hopefully
that's
more,
the big leagues,
right?
Yeah. If you're in the playoffs, then it could be another 30. Yeah, body is worn out.
Yeah. So so what, you're in the regular season, and then when you go and you go into your off season, I assume you guys work out less then, or
we work out like working out in the season is less typically because it's only about 2 to 3 times a week. Now baseball training, like throwing and stuff like that, will be less for about a month and a half. This year I took about 2.5, 3 weeks off from throwing. I didn't really lift anything. I just did like light movements, kind of moving the body for about a couple weeks, and then we kind of started our training up again. In season, we're always throwing. We do get days off, and we won't throw on those days. If we need to throw, or if we don't feel like throwing that day, then maybe we'll take a day off or just play some really light catch. But there's always something to do. And then in the off season, it's more training in the gym, more weight training, getting bigger, stronger, kind of building everything up for the season, as on top of throwing, but less strenuous throwing until you start your build up for spring training.
So the way I understand it, in the off season, that's when you work out the most.
Yeah,
trying to get ready for the season.
Yeah, you're building the body back up.
And then once you're in season playing, you're just trying to maintain.
Exactly.
Maybe tweak this, tweak that.
Yeah, maintenance. And if you need to work on something, then kind of work on that. Like, say it's hip mobility, then you do a little more things based on hip mobility. Or if it's scap retraction, then it's more scap retraction based, a couple things. And then as well as your typical core lifts, which would be deadlift, squats, and split stance, stuff like that.
If you, for example, what's your fastball? How fast?
This year it ranged anywhere from, say, like 87 to 95. My goal this year is to be sitting around 90, 91 and a half is what I found, that my batting average against 91 and a half or above is like 160. So if I can be anywhere above that, my goal is like 91 and a half to 95. But if I can be 92, 93 to 95, then even better.
Well, that's precisely where I was going with this. You can actually do exercises to make you throw faster.
You can do some exercises in a sense to make you throw faster, but it's not necessarily the exercises that are going to make you faster. It's the mobility you're creating and the range of motion and getting stronger in certain points, and then cleaning up mechanics to where everything creates more of
Like a
a
slingshot.
the perfect slingshot or catapult in a sense. Everything kind of has to come together to create the distance and that velo.
Now, I gotta ask you this. So I've seen, oftentimes I'll see like highlights from a game or something, and
Yeah,
they'll be amazed that a pitcher is like, oh, he threw this ball, and look how slow he threw. He threw like 50 miles an hour.
yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
big deal. I can do slower than that. Explain that to me, please.
That may be a position player coming in and pitching,
No, no, they'll
and
be
he may.
throwing like fastballs or whatever, and all of a sudden
Oh,
they'll
okay.
throw this really slow thing.
Then they might just have an ephus kind of pitch that they lob in there, and it's kind of just kind of. I think the idea is to deceive the hitter a little more and kind of throw them off their game, maybe steal a strike or get them to swing out of their ass, trying to trying to hit that ball as far as they can.
So this is just
That
about destabilizing the batter.
kind of getting them out of their rhythm in
Okay.
a sense. If some people do that, I'm not able to just lob a ball in there
See,
anymore. I think,
that's what I mean, because they're like, it's so hard to do that, and I'm like,
yeah.
big deal. I
If
can do like 20 miles an hour.
I mean, yeah, when you're in a game and if you can do that, more power to you, because I think that just messes with the hitter, gives them something else to think about.
So what are your strong pitches? Like what's your I don't know, your holster, like, in a sense of,
My
these are my strength.
Yes, so like my repertoire would be my two seam fastball, and then my curveball and my cutter slash slider, whatever it would be. It's kind of in a mix of a true cutter pitch, which is a ball that just moves slightly inward to a right hander for a lefty. Those would be my best pitches, and my changeup, I would say, is getting better. Now, I would say I can throw all four of those pitches in any count and throw it for a strike, which is important. On top of that, I'm going to probably be working on a new pitch, which is be a pure slider, and hoping to get a little harder, a little more, another pitch that's kind of a little more swing and miss. But I'd say my fastball and my cut or curveball are my two best pitches.
So so you have these pitches, and when you say you're going to work on a different one,
Yeah.
what's it like to develop or to train for a new pitch? What's the process like?
Uh, First off, it's finding the grip, getting the proper grip for the pitch, and finding something that you're comfortable with and know it'll feel good in your hand, and kind of for the intention of that pitch, whatever it may be. That half of the time, that's the battle, is finding the grip that works for you, and then kind of building off of that and getting more consistent with it, throwing it off the mound to hitters, catchers, in a sense, to where you got other people standing in there, like, say you're throwing a bullpen, but you have a hitter just standing there. He's not swinging, but he's watching the pitch. He can give you feedback on how that pitch looks.
Mm.
Typically, it'll start with that. It'll start in catch play, and then from there you kind of build off of it, and you see how hitters react to it, and if it's a good pitch or not for you. If hitters hit it well, then maybe it's not the pitch for you to throw, or you need to find a different grip or a little different spin on it.
Do you first start trying it with maybe batters that are not so good, or I don't know? How do you introduce this pitch, right? Because I mean, it can look amazing in practice, right? But
Yeah.
but
Well, so I mean, one thing we'll do, we have analytics, so like say TrackMan. So like like the geoballistics app, you kind of
Mhm.
like track your data, stuff
Mhm.
like that. So TrackMan is a similar thing. It doesn't necessarily give you the spot of the ball. Well, it actually does. It does give you the spot where it crosses the zone, but it also gives you the numbers, the spin rate, the horizontal movement, the vertical movement, and stuff like that. So you can see if it's a good pitch based on typical average, really good numbers or whatever. Say I'm working on a slider. My goal is to kind of be anywhere from -2, or I guess no, it'd be +2 horizontal, and it would be like minus, or I would also need, yeah, and I would want minus like 1 horizontal. It's like it's not a lot of movement. It's kind of sense to be like movement, just like that.
Just enough to miss the bat.
Exactly. Not nothing
That
crazy, but enough.
that would probably be like the best pitch. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know anything. I'm just wondering the one that you are 100% sure you're gonna hit it, but yet it just moves enough that gives you a ground ball or something, right?
Yeah. So like sliders and cutters like that, those pitches are very good. And then changeups are I'd say changeups probably the best pitch in baseball, just because it comes out of the hand looking exactly like a fastball, but then it can be anywhere from 5 to 15 miles an hour slower than or even 20 miles an hour slower than your fastball. So if you're geared up for a fastball hitting, and then all of a sudden you see the ball just dives out, and you're swinging through it, and then you're done, or you get a rollover. So I think that's, I mean, yeah, everything is to create movement and to create deception. Anything to miss the barrel.
The how because the batters don't have that much time to think, right? Because the
No,
ball gets there
no,
quick. So that's
yeah,
that's the whole point about making it look like a certain pitch, but yet it's another,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Now this it's amazing to watch because the batters, I know they don't have that much time to think, but yet
yeah,
sometimes they'll start swinging. They'll even actually change, halfway through their motion, change their swing to try to catch the
yeah.
ball.
They'll adjust something. It's either they're with their whole rhythm. They either got beat on it on a pitch, thinking it's a fastball and it's a changeup. So then they have to keep their hands back, but their hips are already gone. So now it's just trying to just foul the ball off, just kind of hit the ball with the barrel, or just any piece of the bat to where you can avoid getting out and just kind of avoid swinging and miss.
So
Uh,
so pitchers are usually not good batters.
yeah, I mean,
Is that because they
typically,
focus on one, not in the other?
typically, yeah, it's that. And pitchers, I mean, pitchers don't hit anymore. They have the universal designated hitter now. So both National League and American League have the DH, which sucks in my opinion. I liked hitting. I was always a pretty good hitter in my opinion, and I wanted to be able to hit, and I haven't had that chance, and probably won't get that chance now.
So now they don't even allow you to go.
No, no,
That
pitchers don't hit anymore.
really? Why is that?
Yeah, that's
Too
what they
much
voted
too
on.
much glory.
I,
Those
I
guys get
don't
all the
think
glory.
I don't know if it's the glory. I think it's because it became an easy out. The hitters weren't, because they never focus on it. They're always working on their craft of pitching, and so people thought it was kind of boring. But I think it's fun when pitchers hit, and you get those guys that do know how to hit, and they hit well, and then they help their team out.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't realize that was going on. I haven't watched baseball in a while, honestly.
No, right?
Uh,
It's
but again, I just wanted to talk to you about the mental game, the preparation, what it's like to play at the highest level possible in a
yeah,
sport, and I'm trying to see how that would translate to shooting sports.
yeah. No, I mean, and the stress levels I think are much higher when you're in the big leagues, because you're at the top level. There's nowhere else you can go. The only way you can go is down now. And so it's working on your craft and being mentally strong and trusting yourself every day to go out there and be your best, and go out and compete. um yeah.
Do you find teammates or I'm gonna say teammates that you can leverage off of and maybe help each other out and challenge each other? Do you have
Yeah,
something like that, like a support system?
yeah. Typically teams you always have those guys that you can go and talk to, like, that you're really close with, and there's other guys that you may not be as close with, but you can still walk up to them and ask them questions like, hey, what are you seeing today? Or like, hey, what did you pick up on this pitch, or something, anything like that. um there's a lot of that kind of camaraderie, where you're always trying to, because you're a team, you're trying to win. Yeah, you're competing against each other, and you're obviously trying not to get sent down or anything, but you're there to help each other out. Like you're there to help everyone get better because everyone wants to be a big leaguer and they want to be as a big leaguer as long as they can because the average lifespan of a big leaguer is not very long. And so you're trying to maximize your time up there. And so everyone that wants to and is willing to will help out in some way, shape, or form.
What's uh what's a pitcher that you admire that you say, man, this guy is like the real deal? That perhaps
Uh,
has it figured out somehow.
uh one I mean, one dude I grew up idolizing. Well, there's two that I grew up idolizing were Johan Santana, who was on with the Minnesota Twins, and Dontrell Willis. He was with the Miami Marlins and Detroit Tigers. I grew up; they were both left-handed, and I loved watching them compete. I mean, they grow stuff. They did things a little. They were a little more unique in the way they went about things. So those were guys I enjoyed watching growing up. And then in today's game right now, I'd say, oh man, there's a lot of good pitchers out there right now. I think it's interesting to watch some guys, but I think like Justin Verlander at 39 or however old he is now, still going out there and dominating the game and reinventing himself after he was injured for a year and all that stuff it's pretty impressive to watch. And I was lucky enough to be able to go against him one game, and that was fun.
Did you beat him?
No, no.
Next time. Next time.
Yeah, yeah. Next time, I threw well. I threw two bad pitches, and that resulted in quite a few runs. But I was able to go 7 innings, and I pitched a really good game. I just had a couple of rough innings or a couple of rough pitches. It resulted in a rough inning early in the game.
Mm-hmm. So that's another thing, right? Because you're facing the batters, but then at the same time, you're in a way facing the pitcher.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're hoping your hitters can get you runs and get you run support, kind of take their team out of a rhythm to create a rhythm for us.
I've noticed. My dad watched a lot of baseball, so I grew up, kind of watching with him.
Yeah.
And then I just don't anymore. But one thing I would notice is sometimes the team would be just crushing.
Yeah.
And then something would happen, and all of a sudden, everything would switch. And all of
Yeah.
a
The
sudden, they
momentum.
are the underdogs. Even though they're leading, they are just
Yeah.
sweating bullets. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
before you know it, they're losing, and it's
Yeah.
over.
No, it's great. I mean, you could see it even in the football game the other the Lions no, the Vikings Colts game. The Colts were up 33-0 at halftime, and they ended up losing the game 39-36. They only scored 3 points in the final 30 minutes of the game, 35 minutes, whatever it was with overtime. And you could just see the momentum shift from the other team. They're like, all right, we're gonna go out and we're gonna win this somehow, some way.
But what changes? What do you think makes that happen?
I think I think it's sometimes complacency among it could be the pitchers, the defense, something to where the focus has lost. And kind of when you lose that focus, then you kind of lose that edge. And then if they get a couple runs or a couple hits put together, then I think with that, your that momentum can shift if you as the pitcher cannot limit that. It could be even defensive errors. It could be some sort of mental error, not making the proper throw, or like you say you could turn it over the play, but you decide you can only get the guy out first, but even though you had no chance or you had all the time in the world to turn a double play, that could be the difference maker. That could be, instead of 2 outs, you could have only 1 out, and then those runs can still manufacture because they got the guy in scoring position. Now they're continuing to swing away, put good balls in play, and kind of continue that way.
Do you guys have any type of what happens when you guys are getting your asses handed to you? And what's the coach like, or coaches like? What do they say to you turn it around?
Say you're going on like you've had like 3-game, 4-game, 5-game losing streak, or even 9 games, whatever it is. Sometimes prior to the game, like in a meeting, just like a team meeting in the locker room, the coach will come in and talk and kind of try and light a fire under your ass, or kind of keep you positively, like in the positive mentality, like, hey, keep going, we're right there, we just need to scratch one across, fight, stuff like that. It could be in a game if we're down 7-0 early in the second or third inning. Hopefully that's not me pitching, but it's I mean, it happens. I've done it before, and it is what it is. But now it's coming out, and it's fighting and scratching to get at least one run across, and then kind of build off of that. And then your goal is to put up crooked numbers each inning and stuff like that, to where if you get to that point where you get a couple runs and you can feel them kind of pitching around you, then you're like, all right, we have them now. It's just a matter of making it happen.
I see. So it seems like it's like you said, a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
Again, mentally, what do you? I'm trying to figure out how you turn something around. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when you go, man, they're hitting everything.
Yeah.
Typically, so because the catcher will start coming up to the mound, and what does the
Yeah.
catcher usually say? Like all of a sudden, everybody's trying to turn it around, and the way they do that, at least the way they start, is by talking to the pitcher, right? Because the
Yeah.
pitcher's typically the one that's falling apart, giving up all the hits.
Yeah.
What do they say? What does the catcher say when he comes up there? Covers his mouth.
Well, yeah, no, they always have their glove over their mouth.
Yeah.
Typically it's something simple yet effective. When what they'll say is just, hey man, not your fault. Like, even if it's ground balls out there and plays aren't getting made, like, hey, you're making good pitches, keep it up. It could be as something to even get your mind off of the game and think about, hey, like I had my coach in college, he'd walk up and ask me something else, like something like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Like, just to kind of get you mentally not thinking about the game, but kind of reset.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd think, oh, like, I don't know, I hadn't thought about it. Get some food, stuff like that, and then that's kind of your mental reset. And then you kind of get right back in there and go after it. And then you kind of have that intention of going right after the hitters, and then I think it's just fine. Other times it's sometimes just brushing a hitter off the plate, like you throw a fastball really inside to kind of back them up and take them out of their rhythm, and hopefully that like gets them a little off the plate and then not as ready to swing.
What's it like when they come out there and they just go, "Give me the ball"?
And I mean, you sometimes you can feel it coming prior to that even happening. You're just like, okay, hey, this is it. And so you you got one more hitter and you get that hitter out, and then they're like, all right, they walk out and they're like, hey, good job. And you just hand the ball to them and walk off the field. And I mean, at home and you just threw well, it's cool to watch and look at all the fans cheering for you and stuff like that. If you threw well or poorly, even on the away side, when you're say in Atlanta or in like Boston, like they're cheering, like, because they're happy you're out of the game, and they're screaming and happy. Yeah, so it's just, I mean, you get kind of both sides of it depending on where you're at, and however well you did or however well or bad you did.
But I mean, so let's say you're doing bad, and they come out and they talk to you, and the catcher
Yeah.
comes up, and everybody's trying to pump you up, and it's just not happening.
Yeah.
And then who is that? The coach that comes out and asks for the ball.
Yeah, the manager will come
The
out and ask for the
manager.
ball, and
What's it like in you shooting like crap, or you pitching like crap? And
yeah, I mean, so it sucks. Like, you walk off and you're upset. Like, you can be visibly upset. You can hide it as best as you can. Sometimes it's just kind of like biting your lip, and you're just like, all right, just got to walk off and keep your head up. And then when you're in the dugout, you're you're looking at things, and like for me, like I'm a silent guy. I kind of just watch for about another inning and just watch the game. Hopefully, I'm hoping the guys, the bullpen comes in and picks me up and gets the guys out without giving up any of my runs. Like that's your goal. Like I'm cheering immediately for that. I'm as loud as I can be and trying to get them to trying to be a positive impact there. And then after that, say an inning or two goes by, and then I'll try and talk to some other pitchers and just ask them what they saw and kind of figure out some more things to work on and kind of build off of. And it sucks in that moment, that 5 hour span or whatever that it can be. And then after that, you got to let it go and you got to work on the next game and be ready for the next game. And so it's kind of just get rid of it. Like, you're better than that, and just have to get past the speed bump.
Yeah, but I mean, I was just wondering if I guess it's part of the game, right? It's just
Yeah.
you can't.
I mean,
Well
you're gonna have your bad games. You're
all
gonna
the
have your
time.
good games. And the way I've been told is you need to find a way to be good when you were bad. And if you can manage to scratch through 5-6 innings when you don't have all your best stuff, then good on you. That means you're competing and you're going out and doing your job and you're helping your team.
What's been your best game?
What's been my best game?
That one memorable game.
In the big leagues, it was my last game of the year. I came out of the bullpen and I threw 4 innings, no hit innings against the Angels. I was able to strike out Shohei Ohtani, who's one of the popular players, obviously, and then I was able to get Mike Trout to ground out, who's probably the best baseball player in the world right now. So, like, to me, that was my most memorable game, and it was my most recent game or last game of the year for me. And then one of my other favorite games was when I was in New Zealand in the Australian Baseball League. Was my first outing there. I had a pitch limit of I think it was 75 pitches, and I went 6 innings. We played 7 inning games at home there. I went 6 innings on 68 pitches, and I threw 61 fastballs, 6 curveballs, and 1 changeup, and I struck out 9 guys, and like that was one of my better games. So like those are the ones that stick in my head.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing that you remember exactly what pitches you threw.
Yeah. No, those ones, those were ones, and then like my 4th inning was an immaculate inning, which was 9 strikes, 9 pitches, 9 strikes, and I struck out the side.
Wow, that's impressive. Well, you ought to go check out that book With Winning in Mind. I think it might help you a lot.
No, for sure.
That's something that I listen to quite often as a shooter.
There's one we have too for pitchers. It's called the mental ABCs of pitching. Mm-hmm. And so that's one I have, and I've read a few times over since my dad's made me read it when I was 10. And so I've read that a few more times. Usually I'll glance at a couple pages in the season, just kind of things I need to work on. But yeah, with Winning in Mind, I'm gonna take a look at that for sure.
The mental ABCs of pitching, is that pitching specific, or you think it applies to just about anything?
It's pitching specific because it goes off of how you start a game at innings based, 5-6 innings, stuff like that. But I'm sure you could correlate it to anything if you wanted to. But it is definitely baseball and pitching specific. I mean, he does have mental ABCs. It's Harvey Dorfman, and he has a hitting one, and I think just a baseball one.
Now, you say your dad gave it to you since you were like 10. Like, was that the plan for you to be a pitcher your whole life, or what was it like?
I was left-handed, and so I kind of got thrust into pitching no matter what. I mean, I loved pitching. I've enjoyed it, and it's gotten me this far. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed hitting. I think I was just a good pitcher, and I kind of continued on that path. And then once I got to high school summer ball, I would just pitch in the summer, and then in the season for high school, I would hit and play first base and stuff like that. But once college came around, only the scouts and coaches had only seen me pitch, so I kind of just stuck to pitching and went from there.
I see. So on the shooting side, what kind of shooting do you like doing? What kind of a shooter
Um,
are you?
I've always been a rifle shooter. I just got the new FN pistol, but I have a Glock 21 that I've had since I was 21. Um, I I'm a I'm a decent pistol shooter. I'm nothing I would like to be compared to what I would like to be. I mean, and then rifle shooting, I'd like to say I'm a really good shooter, but I don't understand everything. Like long range stuff is what I want to get into and want to do more of, but uh I haven't had the time or the financial assets to really dig into it. I'd like to take a couple classes and learn from some people and do that stuff to where I can start to understand the mills and MOA stuff, that because that stuff does not, my brain just doesn't like pick it up well. And it's something I truly want to be really good at and continue on, especially after baseball.
It's fun, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's like anything. It's a unit of measure, whatever
Yeah,
mils,
yeah,
MOA, whatever you want. It's
yeah.
depends. Typically, depends on what you want to do. Like typically, if you're doing like some kind of tactical type of shooting,
Hmm.
mils are the most common, but MOA they also work just fine.
Yeah,
And hunters usually it's MOA.
yeah,
Target shooting is gonna be MOA. So
yeah. Like for me, hunting, it's just for me, it's usually whatever scope I can find, one of the cheaper ones that's good glass, and I usually lean towards mills, but if I get a good deal on the scope for MOA, I'm not gonna turn it down because it's good glass.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it works. Well, I appreciate you talking to me about
Yeah,
what it takes to play at the highest level, because I mean
yeah,
it's ultimately a mental game, just like anything else, right?
yeah. Exactly. Everything in the world is mental. It's just how you handle it.
Yeah. Well, good deal, man. I appreciate it, and stay in touch. Maybe we'll go shooting sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me on, and I'd definitely love to go shooting with you. That'd be awesome.
All right, man. Thank you. Take care.
Awesome.